Probably going to squint all the way through this one because the sun's right in my eyes. It's absolutely beautiful. So today I wanted to talk about why I kind of had to go into business. And it was because I had a really difficult and toxic career, not just a job. So I was a social worker here in the UK for, crikey, I ended up being like registered, as it were, for about 14 years, but I didn't work all of that. The reason I got into it initially was because I had fallen for the ideal, that school teaches you, to be successful, you have to stay on at school, go to university, get a degree. I got a degree that wasn't really useful for anything, didn't think anything more of it, or think, hang on a minute, I wasn't given the right information here. And then I went back and did a social work master's. I was like, this is great, I'm going to be a professional, I'm going to have a really worthwhile career. And honestly, so this was about 14 years ago now. 14, I'm coming up 15 years ago now. I remember when I first started in my first role and I was like, oh shit. It was like 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, but it was in a hardcore team doing child protection, children from 0 to 18. I literally cried every day. It was so hardcore, so intense. It was really, really stressful. I stuck that out for about 2 years. My hair went grey because it was an extremely stressful job. I had far too many cases and there were children in danger in my care. It wasn't just paperwork racking up. This was children's lives. And I could feel myself getting really unwell. After 2 years, I went to work for a fostering service, which was slightly more, a little bit less stressful, but it's just a really stressful profession per se. It was when I got pregnant then and I had my son and I had to go back to work and he was in nursery. Fortunately, we had grandparents looking after my son, so it wasn't like he had to go in childcare. And I negotiated just working 4 days, but I still had to hold the duty phone all night. And so I'd be getting calls through when Raf had just got back to sleep. I'd be getting emergency calls through, police, with children going missing, everything. I was like, this is just not sustainable. And I think as well, parents out there, you've probably all had this dilemma of, when you go and get your career or when you're having careers advice when you're younger, no one ever talks to you about planning your working life so that you're prepared and ready to have a family. So when it hits, you could be having a career where it just does not fit with your family anymore. And that was the case for me. I was like, this work does not fit with my family, not just time wise, but the emotional drain of the work meant that I was out helping all these families and helping all these children. But when I came home, I had no brain space for my own son, and I really knew it. I really knew I'm like not even present here. So there was other things that happened as well, where like allegations would get buried by my managers, and I was like, what am I doing here? It was a really toxic work environment, where sometimes you could do your work properly as a social worker, and then other times, if it didn't suit them financially, you doing your job then became a problem. So you never knew whether you were coming or going. There was the plates kept shifting underneath you, so you never felt certain in your actual practice. And I was like, I need to just get out of this. And it was that really that prompted my move, where I was like, the only way I can, be out of a toxic working environment is to create my own working environment. You know, I'm done with teams and team meetings and office politics and poor quality managers that don't know what they're doing. And so the only way was to just do it myself. And so that's where the need to go into business, because I actually tried to stay in my profession for years and years, longer than I should have done, through fear of, like, you know, I've done all this work with my, you know, got the degree, got the master's, got the professional qualification. I'm now earning the salary of a social worker. I was able to go independent as a social worker, which doubled my pay rate to a very high rate of pay that it was going to be difficult to cover it. So I tried to stay within the system for as long as I could, until I was like, do you know what, it doesn't matter where I go or what I do, this work is just not aligned with me anymore, because it was always dealing with children being abused, allegations. I was like, I think you get burnt out after a while. I mean, if there's anybody out there that's watching this that, you know, had a really toxic career where it like really drains you out, like if you're a police officer or, you know, a social worker, mental health therapist, you know, you're really dealing at the coalface with some not very nice stuff. There's only so long you can take it for, I think. So I'm going to walk back now. The sun will be on the other side. Yeah, but it just kind of drains you out. Kind of wish I'd gone into sales or something like that. I know that's a quite high pressured environment, but never would have been children, you know, children's lives and children's safety. Was a totally different ball game there. So that's my story, and that's why over time I gradually you know, came out of social work and then went into business. And actually it was the best decision I ever made, because I decide now what I do, I decide who I work with, and you can also earn far more. You can pay yourself what you're worth, you know, rather than being paid what an employer wants to pay you so that they profit from your labour. So yeah, that's my little update for today of why my work forced me into business. And if anybody watching has had a similar situation where it was literally like desperate measures that they had to start a business, it'd be really good to hear your story and what it was that, you know, prompted you, that you had to make that move out.